Welcome to our special Sorceress CEO series, my friends. As we step into this new year together, I want to invite you into a journey that is both deeply practical and profoundly spiritual. A journey to reimagine how we do business as women entrepreneurs, weaving in principles of the sacred feminine. This 6-part series is designed to empower you around the themes that often challenge us the most: money, pricing, choosing a business model, delegating, marketing, defining your niche, and more. Each episode will offer clarity and actionable steps to create a business that aligns with your values, supports the life you want, and amplifies your impact in our troubled world. This isn't just about strategy, it's about reclaiming business as a spiritual practice, one where you root into your power, honor your intuition, and lead with your devotion to service and love. Over the next 6 weeks, I'll draw from over 2 decades of experience supporting thousands of women on their entrepreneurial paths, blending tried and true wisdom with fresh practices to help you stay relevant and inspired in 2025's ever-evolving landscape. So settle in, whether you're listening with your morning coffee, on a walk, or between client calls. I'm grateful you're here. Let's redefine what it means to be a Sorceress CEO and explore the sacred power of doing business in a way that's uniquely, authentically yours. Now, let's dive into today's episode. Welcome to Herself, a space for women to have deep conversations about the intersection between spiritual entrepreneurship and fulfilling your potential, so you can become the woman you truly are in every area of your life. After being in business for over 2 decades, I've learned, as you likely have too, that as you grow your business grows you in unexpected, often challenging, yet miraculous ways. Here, we'll talk about how to get out of your own way so you can grow a business that's abundant and sustainable while allowing you to be a force for good in the world. I'll give you simple, actionable strategies as well as wisdom and inspiration to help you root into your wholeness, lead from your values, and work in ways that feel deeply aligned so you can bring your true self into the world through your business and in every area of your life. Hello, beautiful women. If you are listening to this podcast, you are likely self-employed. And I imagine one of the reasons why you choose to work for yourself is because you want to be your own boss. You want to call your own shots. You want the freedom to do what you want when you want. You want to be the leader of your life and your work. And the reality check is that so often when we start running our own business, we don't know that much about business. We are just stepping into it because we are passionate about our craft. And we find ourselves quickly getting lost in endless operational details, emails, admin tasks, tech challenges, marketing demands, financial management, all while juggling our personal lives. And as a result, we end up feeling like an employee in our business rather than the leader. So even though we wanted that freedom, we end up maybe even feeling less free than we would in a 9-to-5 job, where at least there, maybe you have good benefits and a consistent paycheck and a real structure and schedule to follow. So I really wanted to take some time today to have this deeper conversation with you about the really, really crucial evolution that every woman business owner needs to make from being an overwhelmed entrepreneur to becoming an empowered leader, an empowered CEO. And last week on the podcast, I shared a little bit about my personal life and how this first few weeks of 2025 has been quite harrowing. And both my mom and my fiance being in the hospital with potentially fatal challenges. They both had pulmonary embolisms or blood clots in their lungs. And particularly in these recent days, I was just in the ER and in the hospital with my fiance. And to be honest, there were many moments where we didn't know, we wondered if he was going to make it or not. And I feel like this investigation, this evolution from entrepreneur to CEO really came into deeper focus for me this week because we're also stepping into a launch month. We are getting ready to open the doors to our signature program, our year-long mastermind, Sorceress CEO. I'm getting ready to lead a free workshop about it, Step into Your Sorceress CEO. And I have been called to just really test my own standing as an empowered CEO in my own business these past few weeks. And I have to say that while there's always a next level, I am really proud at the inner work that I've done to be able to stay really solid and steady amidst stormy seas, and the outer work that I've done to build a really solid business model with really strong systems and structures. And again, there's always next levels I want to go to, but for where I am right now, things are feeling really supported, and there has been space for me to tend to what has been happening and to know that things are not going to fall apart in the midst of that. And I know that we all want to have this experience in our lives. We want to kind of help to life-proof our businesses because life does happen. And we don't want, when life happens, to feel like I can't work. And I hear that so much from women in my mastermind or private mentoring. There's some sort of a life crisis that happens, and it's like, well, I can't do anything for my business. And we don't want to create businesses that cannot operate when we're not present. And we can at least take the first steps, or even the first several steps, depending upon what stage you're at in your business, to start to create some more freedom and spaciousness for you to be the leader of your business rather than just the worker in your business. So to help us start to make this evolution, I want to highlight 3 key points of awareness. And the first is just to simply recognize if you are stuck in that employee in your business dynamic. If you're in a place where your business can literally not operate at all when you are not present, if there is nothing that will keep moving if you are not the one that's moving things forward. So first, just to recognize if that is where you are. The second point is to have compassion for where you are, to have compassion for the complexity involved in moving from entrepreneur to CEO, having compassion for just the ins and outs of all the various things that you are juggling. And then the third point of awareness is to really zoom out and realize that there is a next level, and it is possible for you to get there, even if you haven't been able to do it before. And that to do that requires implementing genuine CEO strategies, or really up-leveling your inner leadership and your outer leadership. So here are some signs that you may be stuck in the role of an overwhelmed entrepreneur. Remember, this is just a role. It's not your identity. It's not who you are. It's just where you may be right now. So in your daily experience, some signs that you may be stuck as an overwhelmed entrepreneur is that you wake up exhausted and dreading your tasks for the day, kind of feeling like you're a dog on a leash being pulled around by your business or by your clients. Maybe you feel like you're in constant go mode and kind of in emergency mode. You are in a fight or flight response in your nervous system, and you are constantly moving without rest, without reflection, without a deeper connection to your higher self. You may feel resentment toward your business, that it is driving you into the ground, that you're not feeling that same fulfillment and aliveness that maybe you once felt doing your work, when you first started, before you started to build this, what might feel like a beast at this point. Or maybe you feel resentment towards your clients, like they aren't valuing you enough. They're not paying you enough. Maybe you feel some creative stagnation, like maybe you don't even have time for your creativity and you just feel a bit stuck or just confused about how to even get beyond where you are right now. And you could also be feeling just this imbalance. You feel like you're giving a lot, but you're not receiving enough or more back in return. Here are some signs in your business operations that you may be stuck in the overwhelmed entrepreneur role. You are reactive rather than strategic. You're just kind of putting fires out, staying in urgency mode. Your income that's coming in is not reflective of the effort that you are putting out. You are inconsistent in your visibility. If your marketing is sporadic and you're not sure how to even have time to do that because you're navigating all these other pieces. You are doing everything alone. You are wearing all the hats and you have a resistance to delegating. If you don't feel like you have enough money to pay someone to help you, maybe you feel like, well, if you want something done right, you have to do it yourself. And you have no clear systems to routinize, is that a word? You know what I mean? Or to ritualize regular processes and tasks in your business. Nothing is written down. So for instance, if someone needs to learn how to do something in your business, there's nowhere for them to read about step by step how to do that. There's no clear pathways for your clients and your customers. You have weak boundaries in your personal life and your professional life. You have a hard time saying no and not really sure how to manage your time or your energy, kind of just spinning a lot of plates in the air. You feel like you're being pulled in a lot of different directions and you're not really sure what is the best use of your time in any given moment on any given day. And your head is buried in the sand around your numbers. You don't even really know what numbers to track. And you're not tracking them, and you are not connected with your cash flow projections, and you, above all, you are just not in the driver's seat of your business or your life. Because to be a leader in your business requires also being a leader in your life. So if you find yourself in this place, which is just to normalize it, this is a part of the path of an entrepreneur. This is where we all start out. And we all start out here because we start from zero and we need to create things from the ground up, many of us. And in the beginning, we need to wear all the hats, and that is okay. That is a valid stage in your entrepreneurial and business building journey. However, the danger is getting stuck there, which I want to help you to avoid. And we want to make sure that we are really understanding the pathway through to the next level. So here's where the inner work comes in. When we want to go from overwhelmed entrepreneur to empowered leader, first we go inside. We create from the inside out. And the inner work that we do here is using the internal family systems framework. So just to give you an overview of this, because this can go a lot more in depth, but the first thing is that we just want to identify the parts that are operating really strongly and contributing to us staying stuck in the overwhelmed entrepreneur role. So there's likely a cluster of parts of us or aspects of us that devalue themselves, that don't have a deep sense of self-worth. And that is related to old wounds, likely from childhood. And that can show up as undercharging for your services and therefore staying in constant hustle mode, constantly trading hours for dollars, making it hard for you or even impossible for you to take time off or to take adequate time off, and lacking resources, financial resources, to invest in more support for you and your business. You may have perfectionist and inner critic parts active that are keeping you from being visible. They're afraid that you're going to be judged that people are going to say, well, who the hell does she think she is? And so you're not showing up on camera, you're not sharing your voice, you're not sharing your message. And if you're not doing any of those things, there's no way that your business can grow. Those parts are actively blocking and preventing your growth. And likely they hold a fear of you trying new things because they want to keep you in the status quo, because they know that you will stay in the safe zone. But success can never come by staying in the safe zone. Success never comes by staying in the status quo. The more uncomfortable you're willing to be, the more calculated risks you're willing to take, the more successful you will be. But we need to do that from a place of inner safety, which is why this inner work is so crucial. Some other parts that may be operating and keeping you stuck in overwhelmed entrepreneur mode are the ones that are keeping you busy with admin work. There's just all of these things piling up, coming in, needing your constant attention, that is making you avoid doing the deeper work, the more strategic work, which can also be related to the perfectionist parts, because they don't want you doing that deeper work because it is more confronting. And there is that paradox that the most important things for us to do are the ones that we're going to have the resistance to doing. And you better believe it that every time it's a day for me to prep and record a podcast, I feel resistance. Even though I love this podcast, even though once I'm doing it, I enjoy it, it takes something. It takes a digging deeper into myself to create this, to share my voice, to put myself out there, to go into this place of deep work. It'd be much easier for me to just be answering emails, but the emails aren't going to move the needle. The emails aren't going to connect me with you. The emails aren't going to share my message. Only me showing up in this way and doing this deeper work and staying out of the constant busy work is going to do that. So taskmaster parts can also have a real resistance to delegation. And that's similar to what I was sharing earlier about feeling like, well, the only way to get it done right is to do it yourself. And, one of the things I've had to embrace is, that's, it's probably true that, or yes, it is true that I'm going to do it better than anyone else on my team, unless there's a real tech expert coming in and doing something that I have no idea how to do. But that's because it's my business and no one's going to care about it as much as I do. But I need to be willing to let go of the reins when I trust someone enough, when they are skilled enough to at least do it to 80% of what I can do, because that's going to free me up to focus on the areas of the business that I really love and that are really going to help to move us forward. So that first piece of that inner work is to identify the parts that are present and keeping us stuck. And then again, this is a relational model. This is a relational framework for doing business. And while the leadership that I am passionate about supporting you and cultivating, and that I'm passionate about myself embodying, it is a leadership that marries masculine and feminine. It marries the yin and the yang within us, and it requires equal parts flow and structure. And part of that more feminine dance in the leadership is it's really prioritizing relationships. And internally, that looks like building trust with our parts. So kind of casting these lines of connection from our true self to these parts that are keeping us stuck. These parts that we might over-identify with, and a lot of times we think that that's who we are, or that we might judge about ourselves, that we might want to fix or get rid of. We start to instead send out those lines of connection. And one of the ways that we can do that is to hold these meetings with our inner selves, or you can call it an inner family meeting, and start to bring this sense of cohesion inside and gathering all these parts in and telling them, hey, this is what we're working on. This is where we're going. This is how I can support you. Tell me what you're afraid of. What questions do you have? How can I support you with those fears? How can I support you in being successful? If you think about leading an outer team, that's the kind of leadership we would want to bring to really have a successful outer team. And those same characteristics, those same qualities are needed internally to get your internal team really moving in the same direction. And some of the qualities of that internal leadership, of that self energy in IFS is called the 8 C's. So we want to be clear, confident, courageous, calm, creative, connected, curious, compassionate. All of these qualities are really going to help to build that sense of internal safety and internal harmony. So then let's talk about then what are some signs of an empowered CEO? If we understand the signs of an overwhelmed entrepreneur, we understand the first steps to take with the inner work to help with that, then we want to know okay, well then what are we going to here? What is the destination? So these are the signs of an empowered CEO, which we are calling here a sorceress CEO, because this is not just about merging masculine and feminine. It's also about merging practical and mystical, human and divine. Because ultimately, we, especially as women, are living wands of bringing spiritual, creative energy into the material plane through our bodies, through our ideas, through our hearts. And here are some practical things that we can do in our businesses to help with this. First is strategic planning. Strategic planning. So the only way to get out of the weeds is to start to put together a plan. And I know planning can seem super unsexy, but I have learned to really, really love it. I was not always good at this, but I have become good at it. It's like that's one of the teachings from the Bible, where you are weak, you can become strong. The more that you plan, the more that you are going to be able to really rise to the next level. So that starts with having a clear annual vision for each month, knowing what you are promoting each month, knowing what your focus is each month, having quarterly milestones, chunking that down to weekly planning, and then having even daily priorities so that when you wake up in the morning, you know exactly what you are needing to work on and you are spending your time on the things that are going to have the biggest impact. So while everything in my life has been compromised at the start of this year, I have a clear sense each day, okay, these are the most important things that I need to focus on, or I don't need to do anything today. These things that I have on here on my calendar, these can wait, or I can just delete them, or I can delegate them, or no, this really needs to get done today. And all of that was planned out in advance. In fact, each day of the year, each work day of the year is planned out in terms of blocks of time on my calendar, what I'm going to be working on. And that's not to say things can't or won't shift and change. They have already in these first 3 weeks of the month, but they at least give me a starting point to know that I am moving toward my desired destination. And then having regular CEO dates. So having a Sorceress CEO date and reviewing, how did things go this past week? What is on top for next week? What are my highest priorities for next week? What are things that went well? What are things that didn't go well? Inside Sorceress CEO, we have a weekly alignment session where we do a deeper review of the previous week and a planning for the one ahead. And there's a worksheet that women fill out with some important questions and metrics to track. And one of my favorite questions from that worksheet is, where am I out of integrity? Where am I out of integrity? And just to think about those deeper things that maybe we don't have time to, or we don't think to when we're just kind of spinning our wheels. And also with strategic planning, it gives us a chance to really map out our time off. And in 2025, I'm planning on taking 3 months off total throughout the year. And that does not include the 4-day work weeks that I have. That does not include the Fridays that I take off. So this will be the most time I've ever taken off in a year, but that comes from planning it well in advance. So the next piece of an empowered CEO is having really defined business operations. So having a consistent marketing schedule when you are putting out your content and having an editorial calendar, what is included in that content. Clear pathways for your client to go from prospect to kind of an inner circle member. You want to be making data-driven decisions by reviewing those metrics in your weekly Sorceress CEO dates. You want to focus on at least just one core offer and really get that refined, really get that strong to create predictable traffic and income. You want to have effective delegation. And that starts by knowing what to even delegate and maybe the right roles for people you want to hire. I think that the best first hire is always a virtual assistant to start to take over some of the admin tasks, to take over customer care if that's something that you have, and to put together hiring process, onboarding process, review process, and just a regular feedback and project management process. And for that, you need strong systems and structures and those things that can be repeatable and those things that, just those day-to-day operations and recurring processes in your business, having those documented so someone else can follow step by step how to do it. And you're not the only one who's holding that information inside your head. So the next category of an empowered CEO is this personal and spiritual leadership. And a hallmark for this in my life, for my entire adult life, has been a daily meditation practice. And those of you who have worked with me before, especially if you come on retreat with me, meditation is a key part of what we do together. This is where you're going to get grounded. You're going to get clear. You are going to drop out of the noise of the day-to-day, even if your mind is still noisy. It's better than you just walking around being blended with your thoughts. It's going to help you to connect with your highest self. Having self-care as a foundation, so essential. So, like I said, especially this past week when I have been in the hospital most of the time caring for my partner, my self-care has really reduced. But again, I know okay, what's the minimal? What's the minimal that I can do each day? So instead of doing my meditation practice for 30 minutes on my cushion in my office, I would lay in bed and I would do a prayer practice. I would do a clearing practice of my energy field. I would do a grounding practice. So I knew when I got out of the bed and kind of things were going to be going nonstop for the rest of the day and into the night, that I had started with that foundation. Then we want to make sure that we're working from our wholeness, cultivating a practice of connecting with our inner selves regularly and establishing the healthy boundaries that we need in order to do all of this. So learning that we need to say no to so many things and also to say yes to other things, to say yes to our own self-care, say yes to our own spiritual practice, say yes to our Sorceress CEO time, say yes to being the intentional leader of our businesses, and more establishing a genuine focus inside our zone of genius. More and more being able to delegate so that we can be focusing on truly what is our true craft? What is it that we are here to do? It's not to stay lost in admin endlessly. We know that for sure. So an empowered leader also really has put the essential building blocks in place for her business. And again, these are things that we are not taught unless you go to business school and you get your MBA. And most of us, again, we step into our work because of something that we're really passionate about, but we haven't learned about messaging. We don't know how to write good copy. We don't know how to really clearly define our audience and create audience and messaging alignment. We don't know how to create a solid offer that converts, which is huge. And it takes a lot of time to figure that out. And we just kind of just throw things up there and hope that they'll work. We don't know about team building. We don't know about this system development and really building sales and marketing and delivery frameworks that we can reuse and refine over and over again. We don't know about metrics and analysis. We don't know what are the KPIs, the key performance indicators that are really going to be crucial for us to track how well our business is or is not doing. We don't create time for regularly reviewing all of this, and therefore we can't make data-driven improvements. And these are the more masculine aspects needed. These are the more yang aspects needed of a Sorceress CEO. And you're not going to have a successful, sustainable, lucrative business until you get these pieces in place. And again, this is a spectrum. You might start an overwhelmed entrepreneur, and then you move step by step by step into empowered leader, laying down one brick at a time. So some pieces also of more maybe advanced integration as you move into more and more of an empowered leader is you have an even deeper connection to your higher self and a deeper connection to your intuition. And your intuition is moving into your leadership more and more. You have more bandwidth for community building, both the community that you're serving and networking with other people in your field, because the world that we're in right now, it's really incrementally moving from a me to a we mentality. And this more advanced integration of a Sorceress CEO is really operating inside that we space. How can we work together? How can we collaborate? How can we help to lift each other higher? And then there's sustainable scaling. And scaling simply means that you serve more people without working more and without spending more. So you are serving more people and you're making more money, but you are not investing more in order to do that. And who doesn't want that, right? And it's not, scaling isn't everything, for sure. And maybe you stay with really high touch one-on-one work, but there are other elements in your business that you can scale. And then all throughout, we want all of this growth to be really soul aligned. Is this in service of my highest calling? Is this helping me to fulfill my deepest potential? Is this a way that I can make the greatest use of my life force in this one life that I have? So if you are ready, if you are hungry, passionate about making this transition from overwhelmed entrepreneur to empowered CEO, I am going to be going into all of this in much more depth over a free 3-day workshop that is called Step Into Your Sorceress CEO. And there I will be guiding you day by day through my unique and proven 3-pillar process where we look at the inner work, which is using IFS so you can lead from your wholeness, the outer work of really building those essential business foundations wherever you are in this spectrum, and then embodying the sacred leadership and serving your community. So really, really stepping into that CEO role, that empowered leader role. So you can join us in Step Into Your Sorceress CEO. Together, you will discover how to create your dream business, how to grow your dream business from your highest self without burning out, without betraying your values, and without getting in your own way. So to join us, to save your seat, we have women joining us from around the world. It's going to be a really rich experience over these 3 days of other women who are up to important and inspiring callings in the world. So you can save your seat at programs-sarahavaughnstover.com/workshop. That's programs-sarahavaughnstover.com/workshop. And you can also find the link to that in the show notes. So as we come to a close for today, remember that this is about progress, not perfection. Easy does it, one step at a time. Remember the very first 3 points of awareness that I started with. The first one is be aware of where you are on the spectrum. The second one is to have compassion for yourself with where you are. And the third one is just to know the bigger picture and the next steps that you need to take. So remember, we can go much deeper into this inside Step Into Your Sorceress CEO. And the more you move into the role of empowered CEO, the more fulfilled you will feel in your work and in your life, and in you really fulfilling upon your soul's calling, and the more impact you will have. So thank you for joining me here today, and I will see you next week for the final episode in this 6-part series of Sorceress CEO. Until then, many blessings and much love. Thank you for joining me today. And remember, change doesn't come from listening alone. I invite you to commit to taking one small or large, courageous action after today's conversation. One step you can take if you haven't already is to sign up for my Sunday journal. It's a weekly newsletter filled with inspiration and reflections about the intersection between spiritual entrepreneurship and fulfilling your potential to help you become the woman you truly are in every area of your life. You can subscribe at programs-sarahavonstover.com/journal. And if you found this podcast valuable, please share it with the women in your world. Also, I'd be very grateful if you'd leave a review. It helps others find resources like this, and I'd love to hear what's coming alive for you after listening today. Above all, keep going, and never forget the unique offerings you and your true self bring to the world. Until next time, I'm sending you my heartfelt support.